This is Pranav Thakurta from EDU TV. In Principles, favorite program, it's a matter of principles. We have two famous educationists with us. Their advocacy for experiential learning is commendable. They are Mrs. Anupama Ramachandra and Mr. Yudhister Puran Singh. Let me introduce them. Mrs. Anupama Ramachandra is a Fulbright awardee with pan-India experience in teaching. She is the Secretary of Bangalore Sahoday, President-elect of Rotary E-Kalam of Bangalore, and a certified CBSE teacher trainer. At present, she is the founder principal of Delhi Public School, Electronic City, Bangalore. And Mr. Yudhister Singh is a product of Dehradun Hills Academy and Mitibai College, Mumbai University. He set up the iCare India youth-based organization in Dehradun and was the editor of Expressions, Dehradun's first environment e-magazine. He was one of the top 100 United Nations young change makers in the year 2011 and went on to win the award on the topic of education. Mr. Singh has had the privilege of studying in DDHA and also serving the school at various levels. Currently, he is the managing director of Dehradun Hills Academy, a boutique residential school, and under his leadership, the school has been consistently been awarded and recognized at various levels.
A very good morning, and thank you for the introduction.
Thanks to both of you, ma'am. And I would request Mr. Yudhister Singh to take the conversation further. Anupama ma'am, Yudhister has done a wonderful thing in the recent past. He invited the DOSCOs, the Doon School students, to his campus, and they spent a lot of time out there, and they were very happy also. So as Anupama ma'am is also, she's, I think, leaving for Mysore for training on experiential learning only. Then only
Yes.
it struck in my mind, let Yudhister and Anupama should have a talk. Over to you, Yudhister.
All right. Good morning, Anupama ma'am. How are you?
Good morning, Yudhishthir. I'm doing very well, thank you. And I hope you're doing well too.
I'm doing great. Great to discuss early in the morning something about experiential learning. All right. So I'll just tell you a brief about what Pranav just told you about. Just recently, a month back, we had hosted D Former, that is class 7 from Doon School. And they had visited us for a night out, basically for a 2-day program, wherein they were a part of the experiential learning program in our campus. So my take on experiential learning is I feel it is the future. And I think as is evident in the, new education policy, even the government is trying to promote it. Because honestly, the current way of teaching students is honestly outdated. We are still looking at the rote learning, who can mug up, wo to bahut aage nikal jata hai. And we're not really focusing on that each learner has to be looked into as an independent child. And what experiences I have may not be applicable to you as a teacher or as an educationist, but experiences matter the most. And I think experiential learning is all about experiences. And I think, so taking it forward, I believe you've been into experiential learning. Whatever little I got to know about you from Pranav, he had very nice words to tell me about you and your journey. And I was looking at your small video on, I think, Edu TV itself, wherein you were telling how you joined as an SST teacher and your journey from being an SST teacher to being a principal. I think that in itself is an experience. I think that experience is what you are today. So what is your take on experiential learning, ma'am?
Yeah. Thank you, Yudhishthir, for, I was really enthusiastic about this conversation. Although it's our day off, I said, yes, anything on experiential learning I would like to know, especially after what Pranav told me about what you did at Dehradun. I was very keen on having this conversation because more than knowing anything from me, I thought it would be a lovely opportunity for exchange of ideas. So
Yes, exactly.
experiential learning, I've been in the field of education nearly for 3 decades now. And like you rightly mentioned, I started off my journey as a social science teacher, and I'm not even qualified to be a social science teacher. I am a science graduate and a postgraduate in English literature, and I've done my master's in education. So nothing to do with social science, but still, since that was a need of the hour, that was the opportunity that came to me, and I took it up. And I just realized that this is fairly how teaching is going on in many places. I wouldn't generalize and say that, but many times we see in our own schools now as an administrator also, we have teachers who are teaching certain subjects. Probably they don't have too much experience in. They've probably studied it for a couple of years, or they've been associated with it for a couple of years, or whatever it is. So, as you rightly mentioned, if India has to work on any dimension of education, I think it is experiential learning. We are doing extremely well when it comes to giving children knowledge, because students of India who go abroad do very well with the knowledge part of it. They know everything. But what they really
Exactly.
don't know is how to use it to solve problems that are there, and how they can actually connect what they've learned in the classroom to real life situations. So that link, I think, is something that we are missing in our schools, and that is exactly is experiential learning for me. And many of us think that by organizing a few hands-on activities, we are taking care of experiential learning. It doesn't end there. Yes, it begins
Exactly. It
with
doesn't.
that. Yes,
Yes.
it has to move further. There are many other steps of the hands-on activity, going through a few more steps or stages, so that children actually have experiences from which they learn. So experiential learning for me is actually a process through which the children not only develop their knowledge, but even develop skills and values. So, like all of
Exactly.
us know, when we have studied in our B.Ed, we all have studied the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains, but rarely do we put it into practice
Put it into practice.
while we are planning lessons or we are transacting the curriculum. So I think for starters, we can say that experiential learning is a process of education that amalgamates the knowledge, skills, and values.
Precisely. I think that's very rightly put up. I think even I feel, I think as schools, as educationists, I think we need to break out from the traditional norms. The traditional norms is actually what stands between experiential learning and moving forward, because everybody is very happy, and I think it's more convenient to follow the traditional way ki chaliye jaiye, use your traditional basic stuff. All right, we may be using smart classes, we may be using very various platforms, but I think even smart classes is not experiential learning. I think experiencing the real life scenarios is what actually makes the lot of difference. And I think this is where when we discussed with Pranav last time around, I think this is where I feel our students, not necessarily from metros, but our students coming from tier 2, tier 3 cities, they lack that exposure because they've never got that opportunity to express themselves, and they have never got the opportunity to be in front of camera or express themselves or discuss with various people. And I think experiential learning will give them that platform wherein they should be told, make mistakes, it's okay. I tell my students in school, I've got my two A formers, which is class 10, who are managing my boarding operation in the school. I literally, Anupama ji, I tell them, beta, galtiyan kar rahe ho, matlab you're on the right path. Because nobody can succeed without making mistakes. And I think as educationists, I think if we get that, ingrain that into our kids in the classroom, that please, we are happy if you make mistakes, because at least you are trying something. And when you will try, eventually, everybody, whoever has made it big, just tried, kept on trying, and that's how he succeeded. I think my journey in the last 10, 12 years has been, I've kept on trying things. My father was very kind enough to give me this platform. I'm very grateful to him that he gave me this platform. But one thing that he told me very emphatically is there cannot be two leaders. So I have to take a backseat for you to actually start doing things the way you want. And it is entirely up to you, your prerogative. You can really make it big, or you can actually do something which you will not be happy about. So I've learned really by making mistakes, and that is where I feel the experiential learning comes in. I mean, as educationists, as teachers, the more we encourage our students to actually face the reality, knowing that they will fail, because failure is part of the journey of being successful. So I think that is something. I would like to ask you. I mean, in your institution, DPS, how are you? What steps are you taking towards implementing? Are you getting some resistance from the parents who may say, "कि मैम ये क्या करवा रहे हो? उसको मैथ की क्लास मिस हो जाएगी. Why are you taking him out for a walk or something like that?" Anything of that sort?
Rightly pointed, Yudhishthir, that mistakes, yes, but unfortunately, I would like to point out here that our system of education does not give room for celebration of mistakes. We are always telling children, don't lose out even half a mark. If you do this mistake, you will lose out 1 mark. So that is where the experiential learning comes in. You know, I'm a teacher of English. So I was teaching letter writing in one of the lower grades many years ago. And when I went to observe a class of a fellow teacher, what she was doing is, when she was writing the address, she was writing the address on the board for the children to learn, she kept mentioning the children in the sender's address. The address that you're writing to, you should write correctly the name first, and then the number, and then the street. This is how you do, because if you don't write it, you will lose half mark, because address has 1 mark. She kept saying that. So, of course, this is very natural. I'm not blaming the teacher. But for a minute, I thought, and I got together with her and I told her, why don't we actually get the children to write postcards to their parents? So we bought postcards from the post office, and we gave them the postcard, and we did not tell them anything. We just gave it to them after teaching letter writing, and we said, you write postcards, whatever you want to tell your parents. You want to thank them, or you just want to say, we love you, write it. And we took them to the post office, and we had them actually post it. That was another, that was another part of an experiential learning for them. But what happened was, all the children who did not write the address properly, the postcards came back to the school.
Yes.
So not only did we provide an opportunity for them to do, this is a hands-on activity, of course, but what we took it forward and showed them that if you make mistakes, what are the consequences? It is not, and it was not the end of life. You know, we gave them another postcard and we told them, now you rectify your mistake and you write a letter to your parents, it will go to them. So this is what experiential learning is all about, that you not only give them opportunities to make mistakes, but if there is no room for reflection on those mistakes, it doesn't result in learning. So we cannot let them just make mistakes and leave it at that. Or we cannot let them make mistakes and reprimand or punish them for that or penalize them for that, because that does not result in lifelong learning.
It's a complete cycle that we have to look at.
Yes. So like you rightly said, in our school also, like how you were provided an opportunity to take over and make mistakes, our chairman, sir, also, Shri Rahman Khan, sir, when he appointed me as the founder principal of the school, I had no experience of being a leader, a school leader, but he also said exactly similar to what you said, that you will make mistakes. All of us make mistakes. Even if you're very experienced, you will make mistakes. But what is most important is, are you going to repeat those mistakes? Or are you going to learn from them and become better? And that is how the journey has been. And that is the culture of the school also. We have several student-led programs in our school where they run it for us, the planning of our sports day. In fact, most of our social media is handled by students. They are the ones who... Yeah, they tell us that, ma'am, this is how you have to have the countdown video. This is how you have to post these pictures. This is how the layout has to be. So they run it for us. And yes, sometimes they do make mistakes. But then we always tell them that's not the end of the world. It's okay. We can still rectify it and modify it. But they learn from it because they are reflecting analyzing, and they're also synthesizing the information that they have, the skills that they have. So I think these are the few steps of experiential learning, that they should be an opportunity for critical analysis. When we sit down to look at a model that we have prepared, or it may be like a model that we're just trying out, but we should all sit down and we should critically analyze what is going well, what is not going well. Now going forward, how can we modify this so that it suits our situation?
I think I would like to add that, I mean, experiential learning, see, it's a time consuming process because somebody will have to sit with the student or sit with a group of students and interact with them. Something similar to 30, 40 years back. I mean, our education system, that point of time, was more about the teacher sharing his experiences. I mean, if you look at the Gurukul system, it was all about the teacher sharing, the guru sharing his experiences with the students, and the students learning and looking up to the guru and saying, all right, I would like to be like sir, he does this, he does that. So it's all, I mean, we all like to follow what our elders or what our teachers, but it's a time consuming process, and the entire cycle has to be followed. It's not only about the mistakes that you said. I mean, it's entire process, I think. And I think, as parents, they also have a very important role, because, if it's a day school, like I suppose DPS would be a day school, right?
Yes, it is.
All right. So, in boarding school, we get a lot more opportunities because the children are with us 24/7, almost 9-10 months in a year. So we get to work with them. They get a lot of opportunity in the administrative side of things, seeing how things work behind back doors. But in a day school, I guess the time constraint is something where a parent can pitch in, and they can involve the students in various activities or day-to-day running in the household chores, because that way the child is also ready for the real life scenarios. Because I feel often, I don't want to sound too critical, to be very honest, but I feel we are going against our tradition when we try to get everything technologically tech savvy. We have to have that emotional connect with whether it's our teachers, whether it's the people at large. That emotional connect is missing in our children. I think experiential learning will get that connect, because it will help us reflect, like you said, sit with somebody, talk to him or her, discuss in person. Our interpersonal skills will be at the forefront. I think these days everything is tech savvy. You got a WhatsApp, you got an email. I think letter writing, like you said, postcard writing. I think I made letter writing compulsory for all my students. They have to write one letter every month and send their parents home. Because email mein to sab bhej dete hain. Hi, mommy, how are you? I am fine. Everything is going good. I made this, I made that. When you have to write a letter, and when you get a letter back from your parents, the feeling that when somebody will come and say, you are right, Akshita, you got a letter. That feeling is
emotional. Yes.
Emotional connect. The moment we are able to bring that emotion back into our education system, wherein the child feels excited. Pranav, we were discussing about curiosity. We need to make the children really curious, very excited when they come to a classroom. They should like, all right, what are we going to learn today? What is it that Anupama ma'am or Yudhister are going to teach us? That curiosity is going to actually take them forward in life.
Yes, absolutely. And like you rightly mentioned, students of today are digital natives, and they're very proud of how they're able to connect with people all across the world. So one day we were just talking, I was talking to my grade 11 students, and I asked them one question. I said, I see that many of you have thousands of friends across. So I only asked them one question, that if you are feeling low, or you're in a place where you need somebody's emotional connect, how many of them will actually know about it and come forward to be there for you? They went into deep thought, and I said, if you got only 5 names in your head, I said, those are your true friends.
Those are your true friends, exactly.
Yeah, I said you are connected to them via internet does not mean that they are your friends. Friends, like you rightly said, there is a completely different connotation socially, emotionally, and you need to experience that who are the people who you can share with your deepest troubles. Who are the people who will understand when you say that I cannot do this? who are the people who accept you with all your weaknesses? They are your friends. So it's so important for us to tell children these very simple things also, which we take for granted, that what you think is the real world is not the real world.
I think preparing them, I mean, experiential learning, again, I mean, it prepares you basically for the real world. The real world, unfortunately, is not an easy place to be in. I mean, there's this professor in Stanford University. One thing that she said that I would like to share with both of you is, we always as educationists, I mean, we always tell our children that do not talk to a stranger. That's the thing that is going on. I mean, it's with me. I mean, been hearing it since tens of years. But that lady, I mean, that professor, I'm forgetting her name. She said one thing that we teach them in Stanford is every step of your life, you will be interacting with strangers. You should be able to differentiate between a good stranger and a bad stranger. You want to open a bank account, you'll meet a stranger at the bank office. You want to do a rent agreement with the landlord, again you will be involved with a stranger. So at various steps, I think experiential learning will basically make the transition from a 18-year-old to a person living in the real world. So because there's a mismatch. There's a mismatch from being in basically an area where he's protected by us, their cameras, their teachers taking care of him. Suddenly he's in the real world. He's got thousands of people all around, with somebody with very good intention, somebody with not so good intention. And suddenly he's exposed to it, and then the mistakes happen, and then there's nobody to guide him or her what to do, how to do. There are no counselors available.
Yes.
The child is hesitant going up to you or me or anybody for that matter. I think
Yes.
opening up a child and encouraging him to speak up, I feel
Yes.
that is one thing where experiential learning, I mean, I've seen my own students. I mean, the fact that they are open to discussing things with the teachers, I think that in itself is a step in the right direction from what I see.
Yes, I think that is the first step towards experiential learning. Ideally, we should be looking at putting children into a natural setting for experiential learning to happen. But unfortunately, we know that all our children are in very protected and pampered environments.
Exactly.
So at least as a school, we should create these areas or environments for them. And we should give them an opportunity to at least be a part of the simulation exercise. Like every day, my ride to the school is almost 45 minutes. And on the way, I see a few smaller schools, which is not similar to DPS. And I see these children walking to school, they're crossing the road. And when it's raining, they have made their own something to cover themselves, some innovation, and they're walking to school. And I always do a comment when I come back to school. I tell my teachers also that in our school, children who are just even 3 kilometers away from the school are either dropped and picked by the parent, or they use the school bus. So to teach them how to cross a road, that is an exercise for us. We have a kind of place where we have drawn the signals for them, a zebra crossing for them, and we tell them this is where you have to walk. But a child who grows in a natural setting just learns it automatically. So like you mentioned, in earlier years, all of us had this experiential learning by default, because that was the way life was. But as we are getting more and more progressive, as we call it, unfortunately and unconsciously, we are putting children into settings where they do not know what real life is about. So in a school, if a curriculum is not engaging a child, we only think of engaging them intellectually. But I like to take it further and say that the curriculum should not only engage the child intellectually, but should also engage the child socially, emotionally, creatively, even physically also. So we only take the physical part of it and we say we make them do, and that is experiential learning. No, we have to see whether they are able to interact with members of the community at large, whether they have an opportunity to empathize with their fellow human beings, that when we do this inside our school, how is it affecting the people who are outside of the school? So I think we have to think very consciously, and as educators, we have to be very mindful whether the learning experiences we are providing inside the school, it is holistically engaging the child, and whether they are able to think beyond books and marks and exams.
I mean, experiential learning is all about beyond the classroom. I mean, that's one way of looking at it, because I mean, like two things that you rightly put up right now is social skills and the emotional skills. I think these are two areas where I think today's generation of kids, their social skills are quite poor, and their emotional
Yes.
connect with that, like whether that with their teachers or with their parents. I think there's a dichotomy between the relationship between a child and a parent today. I mean, I remember,
Yes.
I mean, we used to be real scared of our parents. We used to be shit
Yeah.
scared of us. I'm sorry for using that word, of our teachers. We're like, all right, math teacher. Oh, if you don't do this, I mean, I think that social skills also. I mean, a child in today's time is more inclined towards having a video call with let's suppose a Tauji or a Chachaji, but he will not have that skills to meet him in person. Right? He'll
Yes.
barely have
Yes.
time. I think we also, as educationists, I mean, Pranav, I think you, I mean, of all, you are the one who's leading a very busy life. I mean, we need to slow it down. We need to take 2 steps back and start enjoying life, start enjoying the experiences, good and the bad ones, and be able to
Yes.
learn from them, reflect on them. And I think we are all on the right path then.
Yes, and another thing that I want to
Yeah.
point out here is on what you said, reflecting on that. Somehow I feel that these days parents have lost faith in our own tradition and culture and legacy,
Very much, ma'am.
which was doing well for all of us. Today, if all of us have turned out into decent, civilized human beings, it is mainly because of the experiential learning we had at home.
Precisely.
You know,
Agreed completely.
so today parents love to say that we are just like friends with our children. I always tell them that they have thousands of friends. They don't need friends and parents. You should be
Exactly.
parents. You should be keeping a watchful eye on them. You should be reprimanding them when they are wrong. You should be telling them what is right and wrong. I said friends are there for them. मतलब दुनिया भर भर के friends है. So that is where I
Agreed.
feel that there is a slight, I would say, conflict of interest where children are not able to exactly pick up the right values because the school says something, the parents say something, the parents and school are not in
Not on the same
agreement
page.
with certain things. You
Exactly.
know, like a simple thing, we are very, at least I am very old school, and I like to keep children disciplined, well dressed. I always feel that the dress of a person makes the man. So I always say that you should be well turned out, you should have proper haircuts. And then we have some parents saying that, मैम क्या हो जाएगा ऐसे बाल रहने से क्या हो जाएगा?
हाँ.
I mean,
I'm
is it more important than my child doing well in school? I tell the parents that doing well at school starts with a proper haircut for me. So please take him and get a proper
I mean,
haircut. So
I
I
think
feel there is a conflict of interest.
yeah, the
I
basics
think
of, basics of front of what? I mean, like you rightly said, I mean, coming on time, being
Yes.
polite, all right,
Yes.
being responsible, being able to connect with people. I mean, these are some basic traits of an educated person. I think if
Yeah.
we all are able to inculcate them, that's what as teachers or as education we can do for our kids.
And that never
Yudhister,
goes out of fashion.
Yudhister
It
and
never, I mean,
Anupama,
that never, being on time is never out of fashion. Being
Yes.
responsible will never be out of fashion.
Yeah.
I think what I think, Yudhister and Anupama, you're so passionate about
Agreed.
experiential learning. You can talk for hours and hours together.
I would love to go to Bangalore and sit with ma'am and have a nice cup of
Yes,
coffee.
yes,
You
yes.
should do that.
And
You know,
Anupama,
it's a
Dehradun
warmer
is
place, and I think you should come.
I will. I'll
Yeah.
come up with Pranav ki karo bhai kuch plan karo.
Please,
Milne
please,
jaye
yeah.
ma'am ko.
I think you know, like we all of us as educators, we should make a commitment
Yes.
that
Yes.
we will give because the curriculum does not demand that. If you want to
Yeah.
show results, nobody is saying it can happen only through experiential learning. You can just
No.
teach the kids in the classroom, they learn it, ratta mar ke, they can get good marks. But I think we all of us should make a commitment that we will make a conscious effort to provide opportunities for students to take initiatives, to make decisions, and to be accountable for their results. You know, you have to make them responsible for their learning. And at the end of the day, say that 10 years from now, nobody is going to ask, like today when we are having a conversation, neither you nor I are asking each other, how much did you get in your 10th grade? How much did you get in 12th grade? At the end of the day, it is in the real world, were you able to make an impact? Were you able to share what you know? Were you able to connect socially so that you are having a conversation like this? Do you have the proper collaborative skills that you are able to, in partnership, do something? So we have to tell children that nobody actually cares about your marks card alone. It is important, I know. It can be like a gateway ticket, but it's not a passport.
It can open the door, but it cannot help
you. It can
you lead a
open a
life.
few doors, but it ends there. At the end of the day, if they do not have the real world skills, they are going to fail as human beings. So I think we can do a bit also. You know, many of them think we need a lot of resources. We don't have time. We need a high-fi. No, I completely do not believe that.
You just need a leader who has the will and the foresight.
Absolutely.
And experiential learning does not require resources. It just requires a basic trait,
an initiative, a mind.
Initiative. Mind.
Yes, that is all. You know, a commitment that no matter what, I will make it happen.
We would like to end this conversation right now. I know definitely. End of the conversation, and we'll have the conversation in Dehradun or in Bangalore.
We'll keep exchanging with Delhi what she's doing.
Yes.
We will.
Thank you, Pranav, so much for this wonderful conversation.
Anupama and Yudhister, I'm really impressed from both of you. And like-minded people can be from anywhere. Like Anupama is from the deep south, and you are from the deep north. Yudhister, I'm really impressed. Thank you so much. And we will have this conversation further in person in Delhi, Bangalore, or Dehradun. Thank you so much.
Thank you, EDU TV, for connecting us both.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.